Hi, and welcome to this episode of the DC Life podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Georgie, and today we're going to chat with someone about something in the life of our church. This week we're chatting with Greg Gardner about something that's happening at the moment around us. You may have heard we are learning more and more about the coronavirus. And we wanted to talk with Greg today about that and what it might mean for our church and for us.
Yes, well, I'm not. And g'day, by the way.
Hi, Greg.
I'm not a medical expert. I'm not an infectious diseases expert. I can't tell you very much about the coronavirus itself, but we are all trying to come to terms with some new normal. A lot of abnormal going on in the world right now, and it's affecting all of us at an individual level. It probably affects us at work if you go to work or if you're at school, and it's also affecting us in church life as we experienced yesterday. So it's reaching every corner of our lives. So 2 weeks in a row, you're having to chat to me. How about
Lucky
that?
us.
Lucky you. Anyway.
And so to bring people up to speed with the current federal government's decree, mandate, whatever you want to call it, around reducing gatherings to below 100. And obviously it's quite dynamic and things are changing, so we're just responding to that. And Romans 13, we want to obey the government.
Yeah,
that's over us, and so we're seeking to respond to that as a church.
Yeah, well, our elder board meeting this month, we just decided that that's what we needed to do. Exactly that was to follow the instructions that we were given by the chief medical officers at a state and federal level, and it looks like they're all cooperating with each other pretty well at the moment. And so what they were advising us to do, that's what we would do. And the first limit was placed on outdoor gatherings. I think that was really designed for sporting events, and that was anything over 500 people. So that was the first thing to go. And then we saw any indoor events over 100 people, and that's why we then had to act with regards to our services, because that sort of put us into that zone. And what you're sort of hearing from different folk is that we're probably going to follow the lead of some other countries eventually and see those limits reduced down. I think in the US it's down to even 10 people. So Gardner family dinner might be interesting if that happens. We'll have to have a tribal council and vote somebody out. But so it's the likelihood is it's probably going to get more restrictive than less in the next little while.
So we've seen some interesting behaviour from Australians through some of these times. Yeah. All right, we call it the great toilet paper struggle of 2020, which someone will make a T-shirt, I'm sure. But you can get caught up in a bit of the hype, but we don't want to be those people, do we? We don't want to be responding to the panic, but seek to be sensible and reasonable and kind.
That's right, and I think there's a good argument for just taking a deep breath at regular intervals here, and just being sensible, not panicking, not reacting to. And I think this is one of the interesting things about this particular pandemic, and we've had different ones before, but this is the first time I think we've had something on this level and social media to go along with it.
Yeah.
And so, every time you open up your news feed or your Facebook feed, whatever, there's just constant stream of information, some of it accurate, some of it not, but all, subliminally, I think, affecting our subconscious about, this thing that's overtaking the world. And I think just stopping and as I say, taking a breath and just being sensible and not overreacting, not moving into panic mode, as some of the pictures that you may have seen online of people fighting over toilet paper in shopping supermarkets is just kind of crazy when you think about it. So there's been some interesting moments like that, and we think, that's in other places. But I've been speaking to people from Disciples Church who've just been shopping at Orion and have seen the empty shelves, the empty aisles, and people running around and mouthing off to staff at Woolies or Coles about what they don't have, and you sort of think, gosh, it really has the potential to make us all a bit ugly, So that's pretty sad. So I think there's a good argument to be made for just be sensible, don't panic. Follow what the health authorities are telling us to do. Exercise, some discipline, some care of yourself, some care of others. And if we do all of these things, I think by and large we'll all be okay. Yeah.
And I think it is a time for the church to be the church in the way that we love our neighbour, in the way that we look after the elderly and those that kind of need assistance, and then those people that are just kind of feeling a bit isolated. I think one of the things we can do is to, we've been told to have this social distance, but that doesn't mean it has to be a relational distance. In fact, I think that we need to be getting creative about finding ways to make sure that people aren't feeling isolated, but we're seeking to love our neighbour, whatever that looks like in our own context. And so I think, as a church, there's going to be lots of opportunities for that, and just encourage, all of our listeners to push in and lean into those situations where God might have placed you.
I think that's going to become more so even if the lockdown restrictions, as people refer to them, if those become less and less and less. Then connecting with your close by neighbours would just be a really good thing to do, and maybe there's an opportunity here that if you've been struggling to connect with the people in your street, well, here's a great opportunity that people are probably going to be accepting of given the current situation. Here's an opportunity to make some connections and start to build some relationships there with that. I already know in my street there's a couple of people that are now they've got to work from home. Workers have said no, you got to work from home. And I'm often working at home in my study, preparing sermons and doing that, and so I'm able to connect with these folk and talk to these guys, and it'd be interesting to make those connections if everyone was doing that in their own street, to sort of see, okay, what are you doing? How are you going? Just ask some pretty normal, regular kind of questions. Be neighbourly and be helpful in that way. So. I think there could be some really good outreach kind of opportunities that come as a result of this. Yeah.
And not just the practical reaching out to our neighbours in our community, but also modelling and showing them what a good gospel response is in a crazy time when so many people are tempted to panic. But I keep hearing the word sovereign, that God is sovereign in this. And I think it's a great reminder for us in our response that we can be kind and loving to the people around us who are panicking by actually just showing and modelling and presenting that peace and assurance that, God's in control, He's got it. Yep, this is terrible, what's happening to so many people, but we can still have hope in a time that is full of suffering for some people and uncertainty for so many, but that our faith doesn't waver in that. No. And even the messages that we've been hearing from you on a Sunday recently, we don't have to be fearful.
Yeah, look, and it's been interesting because we've heard a few comments even in this last week where people are sort of trying to interpret these events. Is this the end of the world? And we sort of heard a bit of this back when the fires were at their peak. up to Christmas, and then in the New Year in the States down south, and people were sort of asking the questions then. Oh, is this from God, and this is part of the end, and that has surprised me a little bit, considering what we have been studying on a Sunday for the last little while, because we are told, I think, with a fair degree of clarity, that these are the things that we can expect.
Yeah.
We're living in the last days, and there's going to be wars and rumours of wars, and there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be famine. We're living in a Genesis 3 world where the world is fallen, and there is disease, and there's sickness, and there's plague, and there is death. And that's par for the course. That is what's going to happen. And we're not immune from that as Christians. I encourage people not to personally own or to over-realise their eschatology on some of the Old Testament promises to the Israelites about what it's going to be like living in the Promised Land. Yeah. That if you're, worshipping and honouring God and so forth, that everything will be great for you, and you'll never get sick, and you'll have no diseases. Well, that was the promise that God made to them as they were going into the Promised Land, and then they didn't live up to their end of the bargain. The Israelites were unfaithful, and they didn't worship God as they should have, and so their experience in the Promised Land wasn't that. And so for us now, the Promised Land is the new heavens and the new earth. The Promised Land is when Jesus returns, and his kingdom, which is a spiritual kingdom now, becomes a physical kingdom. And the book of Revelation tells us that in that kingdom, everything that's wrong with this world will be made right. And there's our hope as we look forward to Christ's return. And so that just means that we can live without a degree of fear in this world. When we see all of these calamities come around us, we don't need to lose our minds in the middle of these times. Our lives are built on the solid rock, who is Christ, and the good news of his gospel. And Psalm 23, even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil, for the Lord is with us. And so when we bring that attitude to the table, when we bring that kind of peace to our neighbours and the people that we're dealing with, I think that might be a reason that some of them might sort of say to us, "Why are you not freaking out by this?" And we can say at that point, well, because I know the Creator God of the universe, and in His Word He gives us all of these assurances, and so we can begin to unpack the gospel and share the gospel with people in the middle of it. So it is good. And so my encouragement to people would be, don't live with fear. Don't let all of the online stuff that you see, all the conspiracy theories and all of the
quote unquote experts.
Yes, mean that you turn into a very fear-filled person, because the gospel gives us way more hope than that. So,
So as a reminder to, even for me, as I, go and want to catch up on all the overnight news of each morning, it's actually going to the Bible first.
Right.
Because it's like, I wonder, how many more people are infected today? But it's like, I haven't even looked at God's word yet. So what are my priorities? What are they? So, I've been trying to look at the Psalms, they tell us where does our help come from? It comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth.
Right.
Philippians 4:6, that not to worry about anything, but to trust in the Lord, and He'll give us the peace of God that passes all understanding, human understanding. So God's word is our solid rock in times of trouble, and it's a good reminder through these times.
Absolutely, yeah.
So services. So our services are
currently suspended. That has never happened. Like in my
No.
lifetime. I mean, I'm, in my 50s. And I can't remember anything ever like this ever before. So this is, and you go back through history and it's been a while since the church has had to deal with something like this. So yes, our services are suspended until further notice. We don't know how long that will be. Different people have different opinions. Some people say it'll be weeks. Some people say it'll be months. I think probably the longest I've heard is 6 months. That would be quite a while. But it's going to be fun for a little while because it's different and that might be exciting. But once this has been in place for a few months, I think it might not be as fun anymore. So it's going to change some of the dynamics of church life in some pretty profound ways, I think. And so I think we need to be prepared for that in from a psychological perspective, I suppose, and embracing, I think, the alternatives that are there, and I'm very. I'm excited about the potential that this has to bring people together in a community kind of a way that just Sunday service attendance probably doesn't or never can. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, I think, in time.
And I guess, for churches that put all of their eggs in the Sunday basket, as it were, something like this, it's like, well, we can't meet on a Sunday. Well, we don't have a church. It's like, well, what are we going to do? There is no... Yeah. But for us, I guess our understanding of church is not based around Sunday. Like the corporate gatherings are an important part of what we're called to do. But in terms of how we understand, church as God's people, and the way that we meet Monday to Saturday means that we've got something we can do.
Well, that's right. And since Disciples Church was planted, we have said virtually from day one, for us, the engine room of ministry was our missional community groups. And another way that we've referred to it is that, our MCGs are the cake and Sunday is the icing on the cake. And some, particularly kids, they just like to eat the icing, and icing's sweet and it's, colourful and it's attractive and it looks nice and all of that. And I think if you just place all of your eggs, to use your illustration, Nathan, if you put all your eggs in that basket that we're just icing makers, then
come to church, get your sugar fix.
That's
and you go back home and try and live your life,
do whatever. But I think this is really an opportunity for our missional community groups to shine in a way and really. Make that the ambition, the rhetoric of the engine room of ministry. That's to put that into practice in some very real ways. And so we're going to be meeting in our missional community groups on Sundays for an indefinite period of time now. And if the lockdown restrictions get even further reduced, well, we might have to get inventive about how we even do that.
Right.
But our MCGs are going to come into their own. And so our encouragement, one of the reasons that we sort of wanted to do this podcast was to be encouraging everybody at DC to really be pushing into your missional community group right now. Because that's where you're going to have that fellowship, that's where you're going to have that level of care, that's where discipleship can happen, that's where we can just be encouraging one another. And, Hebrews 10, comes to mind that, at these times we do need to encourage one another. We don't want to stop meeting together. We should continue to meet together so that we will encourage one another in times like this. I said to someone yesterday, we were talking about it, that, if the sheep removes itself from the flock, it becomes very vulnerable to attack. And I think that's a great illustration for our faith walk as well. If we absent ourselves from the body of Christ and from other believers and just think, oh no, we'll do this on our own, don't be surprised if your faith starts to weaken because you haven't got that level of encouragement around you. So yeah, sure, take the precautions, and if you have to isolate, you self-isolate, or if you get quarantined, or yes, okay, you've got to do those things. But the beauty of the age in which we live is that we can connect through technology in ways that we've never been able to do before, and it means that we can still be encouraging one another. We can, we might not be in the same room, we might not be able to touch each other, but we can be communicating really well with each other and encouraging one another in our faith, in our walk, so let's not avoid that, or let's not sort of absent ourselves from that, but take every opportunity to do that and be proactive about doing that. I think that's the opportunity that we've got right now.
So I don't think many people are going to argue with that. I think our MCGs are the perfect tool for where we are at the moment, and hopefully we've seen that happening regardless of whether we're meeting on a Sunday or not, as Sunday is the icing on the cake. What would you say to those people who still struggle with the idea of, well, I'm not going to see all my other friends on a Sunday, or I'm going to miss out on so much from a Sunday that I might not get from my MCG? What would you say to that?
We're not going to be able to replicate or make up for every single aspect of our corporate gathering on Sunday.
Yeah.
We're just not going to be able to do everything, but we're going to be able to do a lot. And look, if you want to make contact with other people that you feel like you're missing with, I mean, give them a call, do a FaceTime with someone else who might be outside of your missional community group, but you often see them on a Sunday. So that's okay. Give them a buzz and say, how you doing? And all of that. In the meantime, what we're going to do just in terms of our Sunday content, and hopefully if you were part of your MCG yesterday, you'll have already experienced this, but we're going to be putting as much of our content online as we can from our regular Sunday services. We just want to try and keep things normal as possible. And so the sermons that we preach, they'll be there on video. Our ministry spots that we do, usually every week we do something that highlights a particular ministry or something that's going on within the life of the church. So we'll still have that. We're going to pre-record those things on Saturday afternoon, even the week's announcements and so forth. So all of that's going to be there, which you can access together with your group, or if you are sick and you have to be at home because you're sick, you'll be able to access that as well with your family, and together through that technology we can all sort of stay on page. We'll all still be working through whatever series we're up to. I suspect this is going to go longer than our Matthew series, so we can just all stay on page together like that. But yeah, reach out to people. You may not be able to meet up with them in person, but a phone call, a text message, FaceTime, all of those things. We can use this tech to our advantage at the moment, which I think is a great thing.
And so we hope to see people really prioritising their time in worship, in community, however that looks at the moment. That our priority for a Sunday is not just checking in with some friends and catching up, but actually, coming together to worship God, to be unified by our faith in Jesus. So it's great that we can still continue to do that. It may look different, but like you said, trying to keep it as normal as possible is really good.
Exactly, and look, don't be afraid to shout out. Like if your family gets crook goes down with it, and it may not be coronavirus. There's a lot of other things going around at the moment. There's, we're about to come into just the good old regular flu season. And there's all sorts of other things that, we would normally be probably catching anyway. So don't be afraid to shout out, to mention it to someone, to contact your MCG leader, what have you. I know in our group, every time someone gets sick, we're just piling on the meals. We're going around, we're visiting, we're doing things. And I know you guys would do the same in your group. I think it happens in all of our groups. If it's not happening in your group, please let me know. But these are the things that we want to see happen as we love one another well and seek to care for one another. And you might be well this week, but you might be sick next week. So you can return the favour, or vice versa. So, I think just to be checking in with each other and helping one another out as we can is a good thing for us to be doing, and then a good witness to the world as well. So, yeah.
So if, particularly for new people that might have, come once or twice to DC, but not really connected in an MCG yet, is there a way that we're kind of working out a strategy to reach newbies, and even newbies that want to come and check us out, even though our doors are technically going to be closed for business? Is there another avenue that they can kind of relationally connect?
Yeah, look, we're actually making some efforts to do that, or have been for the last week, to connect with people who, we've got some who've even been attending for a few Sundays, and we make it very voluntary about giving you details. At DC, we don't offer free coffee cups or trips to China. Well, I was going to say movie world, but we don't offer a lot of incentives to get you on our database. We want you to want to be on the database. And so it actually means that there are some people who do come along reasonably regularly who we actually don't have the details, their details, because they've never wanted to give them to us. That's proving a little tricky. Others, we do have their details, but they're not in MCGs yet. So what we're trying to do is offer them an option for an MCG that they can connect in with at the moment, or at least on a Sunday, and just sort of say, look, you don't have to sort of do this long term, but if you want to get with some Christians on a Sunday, then here's an option for you to be able to do that. We're going to be using our website. There'll be some signage up on the DC building, pointing people to the website where they can make that kind of contact and receive that help if they want to. And look, the other thing that we're just encouraging people to do is just invite people along. I mean, if the front door of DC is shut, I want to open the back door up as wide as we can at the moment as well. And if there's people in your neighbourhood, your community, or whatever, feel free to invite them along to Sunday or to anything your group's doing, so that they can be part of that as well. So so we'll try our best. I hope not too many people slip through the cracks, but if you're listening to this and you think you're one of those people that we haven't contacted, please get in contact with us, because we'd love to help. Yeah.
Or if there's anyone that you might think has slipped through or might not know, please let them know and invite them along to your MCG gatherings, so that we can get them in as well.
Cool.
So MCG leaders, pastors, we're all still going to be here doing stuff. Don't be shy. Come along to the MCG near you on a Sunday, and we'll keep doing the mission of the kingdom.
That's it. Totally.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Thanks for
My
joining
pleasure,
us on
guys.
this
Stay
special
safe.
episode.
All right.
If you'd like more information about what's going on at Disciples Church, check out our website.
Or email us at podcast@disciples.org.au if you have any questions or feedback. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week.